And can you kind of give us a recap of the 2025 season from your vantage point about the Arlington Renegades?
Well, we had a tough month in the middle. You look at our whole season, we only lost by a total of 12 points in those 4 losses, and that's the tough pill to swallow. But we did bounce back and finish off the season with 2 victories to go 5-5. Obviously our goal was to go 500 after that tough month we had, but the guys, our guys really worked at it. They worked hard. They were great every day in practice, and that month that we had when we went 4 in a row of losses, they never got down and just kept playing and finish off the season on a good note. And that's what you want, of any season. Try to finish off on a good note. Happens to be our best regular season record so far in 3 years. So we'll take it and improve upon that next year.
Yes, and along those lines, would yourself personally like to return to the UFL for 2026?
Sure. I love coaching, and it's a great staff I'm on, and I've known Bob all the way, since our playing days at Iowa in the 80s, and so we know each other very well, and yeah, if obviously it's up to him and his decision, and but yeah, I would think that the staff on this staff would like to return for 2026.
Awesome. And for you coaching, OC for Luis Perez, talk about you having the ability to coach him and what you see from him as a quarterback.
Well, he's 26 of 32 throwing the ball today. He's over 70% for the year. That's really hard to do in any level of football, let alone professional football. To have that kind of percentage, and he just, I know it's coach speak, but he's a coach on the field. I give him a lot of free rein to do what he wants to do or needs to do on the field of play. He's that intelligent and that smart. So there's a lot of plays out there. I just say, hey, you've got it. I'll give him a formation and with no play and let him call his own play. So he's great with game planning every week. He invested in this team. There's nobody that wants it more than he does to be successful, and because of that and his leadership, everybody else is successful around him. He makes a lot of players better than what they are, and true leaders do that.
Yes, and finally, somebody we don't get a chance to hear about much. Can you talk about Scott Sprayer, his definitely his contribution to this team?
Yeah, Scott's been we had a really good special teams year this year, and our tackling's so good on kickoff coverage. We had some really good returns this year. Marquette, our punter, our kicking games has been tremendous this year. We've got a lot of field goals as well. So he's just very experienced and intelligent with special teams, and that's kind of a thankless job. There's not so much upside anywhere until you block a kick or get a big return. You have to be really diligent with your work. There's a lot of moving parts that people don't understand in that game with special teams. A lot of moving parts, a lot of guys in and out off of those special teams, and Scott does a great job with all of it. Had a tremendous year.
Appreciate your time. Thank you so much.
Yeah,
so long.
Josh Mayer with United Football Media. I just wondered if you could talk about Luis Perez's ability to change his cadence there at the line. Really seemed to keep the Brahmas pass rush at bay today. Is that something that's scripted, or does he just kind of do it as he gets the feel of the game, and does he practice that?
Yeah, we practice it. It's not scripted. The cadence is entirely up to him, and so he's been around long enough now that he knows how to mix that up. He knows a good pass rushing team like the Brahmas are, and against a team like that, you have to mix it up. Otherwise, they get a beat on you, and then they get jumped. They can jump off the ball on you faster than what you want, and that creates havoc for our offensive line. So because of his ability to change up his cadence, it keeps them at bay with their pass rush. It helps our linemen out to sustain their blocks.
Any other questions on Zoom? Oscar? Anyone else on there? James?
Am I good to go online?
Yeah, go ahead.
Hey, Coach. We saw Caleb Johnson, linebacker, step into his starting position today, and he ended up leading the team in tackles with 11 tackles, had a tackle for loss and a big sack. Could you talk a little bit about his performance and what you saw out of him today?
Well, I thought our defense really played well throughout the game. Holding the team in this league to 6 points is outstanding. And like I said, at any level, especially professional level. But yeah, he was a tackling machine today for sure. And if Jane gets that interception, he might be up for Defensive Player of the Year in the league. So I thought those guys really played well defensively. I know Coach Sanders brought some blitzes today, a lot more blitzes, and created some havoc in the backfield as well. But they were solid in the secondary too. There's nobody out of their coverage or anybody out of their pass rush lanes that I could see. I'm coordinating, so I'm looking at my plays, so I missed some of it on defense. But you hold to 6 points and only 12 first downs? That's a solid day.
And speaking of that coordinating, what was the process like for you today, trying to have to take over as interim head coach? You obviously have a ton of coaching experience, so I'm sure it wasn't too much of a challenge. But what was that process like today for you?
It was basically the same as I had to make the fourth down decisions, obviously, whether to go for it or punt. I think we punted every time. I don't recall going for it on a fourth down, but that was really the only difference. We get really good information from our staff, and the staff on the sideline. I mean, those guys have been around a long time too. Jay Hayes and Marvin and those guys, and Tommy. Wealth of football knowledge there. Been around the block. So really smooth. It was really smooth, seamless with all those guys. And then Rick Mueller, our GM, helps out as well because he's been around. So as far as the clock management and, where the ball is on the field, that kind of thing. But, the only difference for me was just deciding on what to do on fourth down. I did not have a critical fourth down decision to make. So that made it a lot easier.
And then finally, we saw a lot of positives offensively, but a couple of mishaps with Holton Allers when he was thrown in with those packages. San Antonio kind of seemed to read those well. Could you kind of break down what happened on a couple of those turnovers and plays there?
Well, we had an option play on, and it looked like it was a good pitch, and our running back Day just dropped the ball. I got to look at it on film. I don't think it was an errant pitch, but that was just unfortunate. Just concentration on the football, and I like the way Day came back in the game, though. It really ran hard and caught a nice screen pass later on and did well. So he bounced back from that. And then I didn't really see the last one, what happened there. I gotta look at that on film. He made the right read. Just don't know if he missed through it or our receiver was not ready for it or whatever. But I don't know if that's all Holton's fault, or I still got to watch that one on tape.